Alrighty everyone, so there's no doubt about it that a lot of fans are really looking forward to what Jon and Dave have in store, given that they have been taking over piece by piece of Lucasfilm every single month, department by department, and really gaining more privileges, all thanks to Bob Iger for allowing that to happen and authorizing everything to happen in place for Jon and Dave's wants and needs. And we have, of course, Favreau and Filoni pretty much, on a roll right now by reviving Star Wars Legends and taking and cherry-picking a lot of key moments from those stories to be adapted into the form of live action. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So here we are, it is already March 14th, it's pretty crazy how fast time is just flying by, and as we get closer to the third episode of Mando Season 3, a lot of fans are getting very excited for that, by the way. We also have the Ahsoka Tano series teaser trailer that's set to debut sometime during Star Wars Celebration, and we also have a lot of things on the horizon for the announcements related to that at Celebration as well. But that brings us to what Jon and Dave recently did over at Lucasfilm to help regulate things when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy and those that are very loyal around her. So let's dive into the specifics and exactly what's been going on over at Lucasfilm and what this really entails, because we know that Jon and Dave are also very desperate to turn Star Wars around, to reunite the fandom, and just make fans have a lot of fun, right? So that brings us to the next big piece, this big development that has been going on now for about a month, that's entering into the final stages, the finalization stage, if you want to say it that way, of course. But on top of this, with Disney and Lucasfilm preparing to make big changes to Lucasfilm by giving Jon and Dave more control, it's described that just recently both Favreau and Filoni finalized the firing of a Lucasfilm team that was previously hired and put together for The Mandalorian Season 4, back when Kennedy had more control over Lucas, and that they had plans of firing this team have now been made final, after many creative differences for the use of Luke were arising from Kennedy's team, mixed in with the other crew and creative members from Mando Season 4. Jon and Dave got the firing of this team authorized by Disney CEO Bob Iger, who gave it the okay to be finalized just recently. Essentially, this team that was connected to the 4th season wanted to exclude all planned cameos for the show that involved Luke, Anakin, Ahsoka, and yes, even Mara Jade and other Legends characters that's currently planned, and that they wanted to sabotage Jon and Dave's format of introducing exciting cameos and surprise characters in a new show. Now, let me just stop here quick before I get to the next big development about all of this, is that Jon and Dave made a name for themselves, and the way they went about doing that so far is by really focusing on debuting these big name cameos or surprise characters that were not really expected to make appearances in certain projects. And that's what I like so much about Jon and Dave. Look, I understand cameos are not the answer to make a show great. Let's just be honest here. Let's be real. But a cameo works if a story is backed up behind it, and they always succeed with that. I felt that Luke Skywalker did have a purpose in the Book of Boba Fett. Sure, it may have shied away from Boba Fett for a very long time, for a whole episode, but nonetheless, it was a great way to develop the character, and they knew that fans wanted more Luke. They knew that after he made an appearance in Season 2. They couldn't pass that up. And let's not forget that, originally speaking, the Book of Boba was supposed to be 4 episodes only. It was supposed to be like a real mini-series, and so they added on extra episodes that gave them more breathing room to explore characters like Din, and even Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka. So that goes on to the next thing. Alright, now we know that Mando Season 3 is going to have some surprises that Jon Favreau teased. He says that if you were excited about Season 2, you're going to be even more excited about what we have in store for the 3rd one, and yes, even the 4th one. And Ahsoka as well. They're all going to have these big surprises, almost on the same scale of Mando Season 2. Now that brings us to also, what really happened with the whole Lucasfilm crew. Alright, so we know that Mando 4 had a mixture of 2 different teams, one of which was fired and let go from that project, And some of those employees were fired altogether from the company, some of which have been moved over to another project. Let's dive into that too. So, since the firing of this team, Jon and Dave are hiring new Lucasfilm employees to become part of the Mando 4 team that's going to begin filming sometime during the end of summer this year, and they want to get the season released by December of next year in 2024. Kennedy is best described to be very angry over the fact that Jon and Dave got this firing authorized by Bob Iger, and that they actually went through with all of it. Those team members, however, are now being moved over to the reshoots for the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew series, as they need all the help that they can get with those two shows that have been going through production nightmares. Let's not forget that those two projects, yes, have been going through a lot of production delays, a lot of setbacks, a lot of reshoots, rewrites, stuff like that. On to the next thing. Now, some of the Lucasfilm team members have been fired altogether from the company after declining to be moved to help reshoot parts of the Acolyte series for in-studio sequences. So some of which are fired altogether because they wanted nothing to do with the Acolyte, they wanted to work on Mando, and that was it. But at the same exact time, they were loyal with Kathleen Kennedy and were not agreeing with Jon and Dave's vision, so to speak, of where Mando was going. Now, the thing about this that I find very interesting is how, right now, Disney is looking to actually expand Lucasfilm as a company. They want to actually bring in more employees than that already exists currently. So right now, Lucasfilm has been standing around 2,000 some employees and change for a couple of years, and they want to expand beyond that. They want to really make Lucasfilm a bigger studio. They want to actually broaden their horizons and really have a bigger workforce, so to speak, with different teams working on multiple projects. This way they can create a very steady flow of Star Wars material without really pressuring a lot of workload on the employees, if that makes sense. And that makes a lot of sense too, you know? I mean, sure, Bob Iger wants to save revenue by making sure that they're going to focus on quality instead of quantity, alright? But that's another big deal, you know? It doesn't necessarily mean less shows. It may mean shorter episodes or shorter length of each episode, for all we know. Could be something as simple as that. So, I think that what Jon and Dave did here was necessary. It made a lot of sense. I think it was just waiting to happen. If you have obviously a team mixed in with another team that has different creative views, it's not going to work. And so they got rid of the one that was loyal to Kathleen Kennedy. And like I said, some of which stayed at Lucasfilm altogether after they were fired from the Mando 4 project, or some of which were actually transferred over to help reshoot and help fix the Acolyte series, which Jon and Dave now are in control of roughly around 40% of that show, give or take, around that margin. So, anyways, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this whole scenario, this whole situation, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.